Hello everybody and welcome to another Conversation Couch, and today I've got, do I have a megastar or a special guest? No, actually I don't, I've just got Tom.
We're not allowed to swear.
We are allowed to swear, we are allowed to swear. This is, this can be whatever we want it to be, but welcome to the Conversation Couch.
Oh, it's good to be here.
You're all the way in sunny Southend. Now, Tom's here for a reason which is top secret at the moment, but I'm sure in time all will be revealed. But Tom, it's great to have you here, so thank you for coming. Could you give us, in a very quick, just tell us how you got into the trade?
I left school. I had shit grades.
Same it.
Yeah, the highest grade I got was a D, and that was in...
Wow, genius.
Yeah, that was a D, and that was in English. That was your staple language. You got a D.
Oh my God!
The rest of it was all E's and F's. So I finished school. I left at, I think it was 15, and 2 days later I got an apprenticeship with. It was a company called MJ and Colston. They've gone bust now, but they were a national company at the time, and they just did commercial and industrial stuff. And I did an apprenticeship with them. That was 5 years, however long it was. Sat my apprenticeship. They promoted me to the office to be an engineer. I said okay. This was just after I qualified. I did that for 6 months and just decided that I thought it was a bag of shit, really. I didn't really like the idea of sitting behind a desk. It just didn't sit with me. So I dropped out of being an engineer and I decided to work for myself.
And that was it?
That was it. And now, sort of 13, 14 years later, I'm sat on this couch.
So you've made
That's basically it.
You've made it. He's made it all the way to the couch.
Yeah.
Life, let me tell you now, life doesn't get any better. Once you're on this couch, that's it.
It.
All downhill from here. It's all downhill. Trust me, I know it's all downhill. So that's interesting because I literally left school with no GCSEs other than U's, or I think they were F's. Yeah, I think they were F's at the time, or unclassified was a grade because I failed all my GCSEs. And then I thought, shit, what I want to do? And I stayed on a little bit longer, but yeah, I again found an apprenticeship with a company who went bust, sadly enough, EH Fitting Camden. So there's a weird parity there. So we both left school, thick idiots.
Dropouts, yeah.
Yes. There is hope for the dropouts, okay? We may not be able to use huge, long sentences. We may not understand the word onomatopoeia, but we ended up electricians for some weird reason.
Pretty much.
And now I ended up a slightly overweight electrician who does management now. But anyway, that's another sort of, though I did wire all the sockets you're seeing around. You know, that's a hell of a lot of a ball ache wire in this room.
I was, when I sat over there, I was looking,
Get it to the right height, mate. It's pensioner proof. That's what I've done. When I'm an old man, I'm going to sit and go, hey. And the next bloke, bless him, oh yes, I leave tools everywhere.
Yeah.
So I've got loads of spirit levels. I was obsessed with spirit levels. But yeah, anyway, so right.
Yeah, so let's carry on, yes.
Sorry, playing with my tools. You left school, you became an electrician. Why did you become an electrician? What appealed to you about being an electrician?
It was, I was forever, when I was in my sort of early teens, I had this obsession of taking apart everything that my mum and dad owned. Which
Jesus
was,
Christ.
It was VCRs. I mean, we didn't have DVD players, but it was all VCRs. It was the back of TV. I'd take shit apart, never put it back together. I just took it apart just to see how it worked, and that was it.
Okay,
and so that was just, I don't know. You'd have thought I'd have gone into electronics or something, but I don't know. For some reason, I went into the electrical side of it rather than electronics. But I took stuff apart just to see how it worked and stuff. You know, we take the cover off the old VCRs and stuff, and I put a tape in just to see how all the bits clicked and sort of fused together and moved and stuff. I never put it all back together. I just took it apart just to see how it all worked.
So that freaks me out, because when I was a kid, we used to have a big wooden TV, and I used to open up the back and prod around with it when it broke.
I think a lot of people did that though.
I was like 11 years old, and I was literally prodding in my fingers into these huge capacitors. And I think once I got a massive belt off of it, but the TV worked. So every time my TV broke, even my dad would go, "Paul, fix the TV." And I'd be like, oh my God. And sometimes it was the knack of a hit on the right part of the side because it was a loose connection. Other times you're poking and prodding going, please don't give me a belt, please, God help. And it was the pressure of doing it. And I never wanted ever to be an electrician. But I got from my dad, if you're going to do something, try not to be crap at it. I got his work
I think that's
ethic.
relatively sound advice from a dad.
It was one of the few pieces of advice he ever gave me, other than you're an idiot and lots of other words. But yeah, no, I mean, I ended up becoming an electrician because I love theatre lighting, but I thought if I do theatre lighting, which I love doing, I become an electrician, I'll be better at theatre lighting than others, because everybody who was around me doing theatre lighting had qualifications, GCSEs, doing degrees, and there's thick old Paul from Tottenham. I had nothing, but I thought if I get the trade, then I'll stand out. I'll have my unique skill set, because I'll not only understand lighting design and operation, I'll actually understand how it's wired and all the electricity behind it. So that was my own insecurities made me an electrician. Then the money, you then start getting some jobs where you earn good money, and you go, wow, okay, sod this, I can take the missus out on the weekend and spoil her rotten, because when you're that age, there is only a few things on your mind. I won't go into what they are, but you can probably guess if you're a youngster watching this video. Okay, so you got into the industry. So I'm going to talk to you about YouTube, because you, the first time I ever saw you was on YouTube. Funnily enough. Not that I actually know. The first time I was stalking you and I was peeking through your window, I wasn't. The first time I saw you, I think it was on YouTube actually. It was random stuff, because I just got to know Dave, and Dave was doing bits, and I'd been watching John Ward, and I saw you about, and all I remember seeing you was, oh my God, this guy swears a lot on YouTube. Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to swear a lot? And I thought to myself, oh blimey, wow, he's potty mouth. But then I watched some and I thought, actually, he does what probably I used to do when I was doing the domestic work. And I thought, okay, he's just being very real. But YouTube, over time, your channel's grown. Your, I don't know what you call it, the way you film, because you have a camera guy.
Yeah,
didn't you? And you had a team, didn't you, of people supporting the quality of it, because it does look almost documentary-like quality, whereas me and you are sitting here with my iPhone filming us. This is about as Hollywood as we get. £7 mics, job done.
I don't like to think the channel's changed. I think it's evolved rather than changed, but it kind of has to, because there's a lot of shit which goes on behind the scenes which people don't see, which is just like the finished videos. Like everybody watching this, that final piece of content probably represents about 5% of the work that's got into it, that finished piece. The other 95% is all you spending an hour fucking around setting this up and all of the stuff which, so it's sort of, it's not changed, it's just evolved, because you have to, it's a really delicate, I can't describe it, it's a really delicate balance doing YouTube and being an electrician. It's fucking hard. That's the word I'm looking for.
I've got two questions following that then. So why did you start doing the YouTube stuff?
I'd moved to London after this company went bust that owed me money, and I just moved here literally in the back of my van. I just got this. I was sitting in this little flat in Colindale, which I'd put a deposit down on, because I couldn't get any finance or anything. So I had some savings. So I just put down a deposit on this little flat for 6 months rent. And I was just sat there one night. I had no furniture or anything. I was just sat there, and I was just sifting on the internet, just looking around, just trying to see ways of advertising, ways of just sort of brainstorming,
marketing,
trying to think of just marketing.
Yeah.
And I just saw YouTube, and I thought, I'll just type in, just use electricians, and absolutely nothing came up. There was not a thing. There was nothing there. I thought, okay, well, this could be a niche little market. And I think I put one video up, and sort of just nothing came of it, and then I put another one up, nothing came of it, and I can't remember who I was speaking to. It was some friends or something I was speaking to, and I just said what I was trying to do, and they all said the same thing. Look, persist with it, because it's worth it. That's got to be worth doing. There was no one else doing it. You've got to stick with it. And I did that for about 8 months. I was uploading every Monday for just 8 months solidly, and just absolutely nothing was coming from it. You uploaded a video and you were getting like 25, 30 hits every time. You just weren't getting any. And it was just, I remember it was one Saturday morning. I woke up and it just, that was it. It took off. So what changed or what happened, I don't know. But it was, that was 2 years ago now.
Do you still enjoy it? It's Conversation Couch, you have to be honest.
Yes.
We can edit it out, by the way. Anything you want edited out, we can edit it out.
Yes and no is the answer. I love the creativity side of it. I really like that. And I like the fact that, like, you can sit here and you can be really open and honest and just talk to a camera, and there's just a little red light flashing away, and you can just empty your soul to the camera, and then that then transmits it to. It sounds really silly, but I haven't got to talk to like tens of thousands of people. I've just got to talk to
you're
that.
not nervous, are you? It's just me and you in the room, and you're just basically talking to open space.
And you can just talk to open space.
And you can be yourself. It's unlike, so when I was younger, the one thing I was good at in school was drama. I used to have the younger.
I'd never noticed.
Oh yeah. I was very good. It was really weird. I was very good at acting and changing my voice, especially. I used to be able to do dozens and dozens of impressions. A lot of my mates said, "Oh, you could be the next Harry Enfield or anything," but people kept telling me, "No, you're an idiot. Stop acting idiot. Stop acting buffoon." And I kind of just moved away from it and grew up. Although it's been handy in my career. But years ago, I used to film when I was on building sites. When digital cameras first came out, and you had these SD cards, and you'd allowed to be filmed, like they would allow you to film 30 seconds worth of footage. So I did that on some jobs back in early 2001, 2002, and I filmed so much footage over these jobs that would last a year or two. I ended up with about an hour's worth of content. We didn't call it content then, it was just bits and bobs of us mucking around. And I actually edited it into a DVD, which I actually have somewhere in the shed. And I could never put on YouTube because it is literally just us completely fucking around and dicking about and copying. I don't know if you remember the Fast Show series.
Yeah.
We used to copy the Fast Show sketches. So any good Fast Show sketches, we used to film them with like the Polish labourers and like some Essex boys and some London lads, and just do some proper spoof piss taking. It was. I would never put. Do you know? Maybe one day I might put a snippet of some of it on YouTube just to show how dark haired I used to be. But I've always done filming and photography for memories because I'm 41 now. Fuck knows where that's gone. But I'm 41 now, and I still remember like it was yesterday vividly being 18, 19, 20. I remember everything of my school days. I remember all my school teachers' names. And you just think it's really weird. I know someone who's a psychologist, and they said about when you're younger and you look at older people and they go, "Oh, time flies," and live it now, and all the rest of it. And when you get older, the reason time gets quicker is you're constantly looking at it. You're chasing time, so your perception of a day gets shorter. Your perception of a year gets shorter. Whereas when you're young, you couldn't give a toss what the time was. It was I'm out to play with my mates, or I'm going out with the lads. I'll be back when it's dark, maybe morning. What am I allowed to do? That was your perception of time. You didn't give a toss. School holidays were almost a year. In perceptions, there just wasn't that time issue. And I look at the stuff that I'm doing now. We were talking, me, John Ward and Dave were talking last night about YouTube, and because John Ward's got like over 105,000 followers, but John doesn't do any of his stuff to gain followers or gain likes. He couldn't give a toss about it. He does it because it's his thing. He loves blowing shit up, melting stuff. John is a scientific mind. He's an experimenter at heart. He's done some videos. He gets a fair amount of trolls. He doesn't always get it right. His first AFDD video, we all the AFDDs John's got, he got from me. I sent them to him, but we got it wrong because we didn't understand how AFDDs work. But he's humble enough to admit that. Dave did like a whole 18th edition YouTube series, but then stopped and didn't do anything for 5 months. And if you speak to Dave will just be like, "Yeah."
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure doing it, as there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So do you feel
like you're obligated? Because I see you do a video every week, and I think to myself, and I'll be honest with you, because this is Conversation Couch, do you not think you should take maybe just a week or a couple of weeks off, just so that you can go away and chill? And
I mean, there are times.
I'm not encouraging you to, by the way.
No, I mean, there are times where I don't. So like this week, I didn't upload. I missed a week this week. Just because it's just there's too many complexities which go on behind the scenes, and it's just so like for instance, let's say it takes 4 people to upload one video, to get one video a week up onto YouTube, cut, edited, and then all of that takes about 3 or 4 people to make that happen. Jesus. So you've got to have somebody going out getting permissions, because I can't record anything in a customer's house without a permission, which is actually the hardest part of the job, trying to get the permission from the customer to record is the hardest part. You've got to get that in permission before you start recording. You've then got to record, so you've got to then get the camera guy there on the day, because you have to use the camera guy, because if I do all the camera work, like in my older videos, I did it all myself. But the problem with it is, if you take a job that's, say, changing that light fitting, it's 30 minutes work on your own. As soon as you've got to start setting cameras up, it's 3 hours work, and it just the length of time. If I have to record myself, so that's where the camera guy came in. It just means I can still work at 100% speed, and I can just say stand there, and he just does basically what he needs to do. So that was the only reason the camera guy came in. It was just for speed on site. It just makes it faster. You still have the camera guy? Yeah, he's still there. He works between me and university, so it's just, it's then a question of, you've then got to book him in between university slots, and then when he's free, I've got to try and find the job that I can get us two together on the same day, and that customer's got to have it. Really, it's a head fuck doing it every week. So it's sometimes, like last week I missed a week just because there's just too much stuff to do, and it's just,
it's Christmas time as well now.
Yeah, I'm like, it's there's lots of Friday videos backed up, but like there's other things people don't think about. So it's like, if you do a video on a Monday, which is like I call them electrical videos, I then do the Friday videos because people want 2 uploads a week, but then you can't, it's physically not possible to do 2 site-based videos a week. It just can't be done. So I then do a smaller video on a Friday, which is like the motor vlog between me and Igor, because those are a bit more fun. But you can't do 2 of those in a row because people then piss and moan. So you have to do electrical, then something that's non-electrical, then electrical, not, oh really, it's just...
So do you feel, because this is the one thing I'm pretty cautious of, because at the moment our piddly little E5 channel is, it's very much manana, or what will, I call it the que sera thing, what will be, will be. We put videos up of us just mucking around at Alexis, or when we get together, or we do serious videos when we can, but we're always working, because to do our videos, I don't know if you've seen any of our stuff, it takes fucking weeks to research them. I've got 2 that are still in research and development hell at the moment, because I've researched subjects so much. I'm going to go, if I drop that, oh my god, people are just going to go, ooh, that's a national scandal, that's an industry scandal, oh hang on.
For you it's harder in that respect, because you've got to research. I've got
to evidence it. I can't sit on the camera, me, Paul from Tottenham, going, yeah, these RCDs are all shit, mate. And then you'll get some doctor of philosophy or electromagnetics going, explain why exactly the solenoid wasn't. And so I've always been, in my career, I've always, when I've said something, people are going, oh yeah, evidence it. Henceforth, I've spent a lot of my career reading standards, researching, because I'm sick of people saying, yeah, it's a load of bollocks, mate. It's not bollocks. Stop taking people's opinion and always base what you're doing on fact, or the simple fact of somebody probably died for that reason or that regulation or that safety law and everything else. And that's one of the things I find, because our channel, it will grow slowly. We've got some plans to do some even more boring videos in the new year, but... yeah, more boring. I'm going to be doing this.
You're really selling it, mate.
I know. I'm sorry, but I'm not here to sell a channel. I can sell his channel, but yeah, there'll be stuff that you can learn from on this channel, hopefully, and just us mucking around, so that when I'm an old man, I can go, God, I was boring, but actually that was a good laugh with them lads. So you do one a week. Why do you feel duty bound to do it? Has it become an obsession? Because there are people on YouTube who are absolutely, we know who we're talking about, who are obsessed with pumping out content on biblical levels and are obsessed with watching numbers go up. I'll be honest with you, I can't even remember how many subscribers my channel's got.
It's there is okay. There is my pause would probably answer the question. No, you do have a sort of need to keep uploading, but there's a balance. So, for instance, like Instagram is one of them. So we upload, I know there are lots of people who upload shit for the sake of uploading shit, just so that it's an upload, if that makes any sense.
I think that's me he's talking about there.
Actually, I wasn't. I was just saying, but you know what I mean. There's people who upload for the sake of uploading, just to keep content pumping. The problem with it just gets fucking boring, and then you end up losing an audience.
There's only so much content you can
that's coming out in a video I think it's tomorrow's video, or well, it depends whenever you watch this. That's actually coming out in a video where I explain that, because I've been doing there's a fuse board in Great Portland Street I've been fitting, and I've been there for weeks in and out doing this fuse board, and I actually said that point to the camera, because like you get people in the comments and they're like, can't you do something different for a change? Well, it's like, no, I can't. You know, when you're a spark, you're a spark.
Tom the Spark.
Yeah,
who's in the title?
There's only so much variety you can give.
No, Tom the Gardener.
No, I'm all right.
Tom the Painter and Decorator.
No, I'll stick. My dad taught me stick with what you know, so I'll stick with being a spark. That was one thing I did learn when I was young.
Yeah, my God.
So,
okay.
But yeah, there's only so much content you can pump out without becoming utterly bored. I mean, there's some videos we've cut together and we've just never aired them, where we've played. I've got about a dozen at home on the computer, where we've just cut them all together and we've just looked at them and thought.
Yeah, we've got a couple. I've got a couple hidden on YouTube. A few that I filmed at Tresham, which was just for my own sick laughs. But there was also, because Gary doesn't like swearing. But there was also one we did. Myself and Ryan did a video on industry bullying.
There's plenty of that on YouTube.
And there is plenty of that. Yeah.
If you scroll down there's a little thing called the comments section. If you scroll down, you'll see it there.
Yeah, you probably will actually.
Yeah. Tom's a fucking wanker.
Yeah, Tom's this, Tom's that. Yeah, you can do that. It's conversation counts. It's about honesty.
Yeah.
This enchants you to be super honest, by the way. Yeah, it's a weird one. I've never felt obligated, neither does Dave. I think that's one of the things that makes us all slightly quirky. We don't feel obligated to do anything, but the video that we would never show about industry bullying got very dark, very quick. And we didn't realise when we filmed it, because we were just talking honestly. But then luckily the E5 guys, because they've all got access to the YouTube account, what we do is when we put a video up, we always say, look, watch it. So before this goes live, there's at least 5 other people who watch it to sanity check it, to make sure that I've edited it correctly. And so Dave will just listen to it while he's doing his stuff. And the minute we put it up, the guys just went, oh my God, that is seriously, seriously dark. You will depress the hell out of people. It's way, way too dark. And I was like, really? So then I listened to it and I was just like, oh yeah, actually that's pretty brutal. Not slagging people off or anything like that, but it went very dark very quickly. And because I think Ryan was saying to me, who was the biggest bully you ever knew? And I was like, my dad. And it went really dark, like really open, really honest, really dark, very quickly. And then when I watched it, I thought, oh yeah, okay, that was some harsh honesty in it, but it was all true. But we decided not to release that because we didn't want people killing themselves and blaming that one video.
Yeah, no, there's stuff it is good when you record something, leave it a few days and then watch it back again. I've always found that was good, because there's stuff which maybe you said when you're really annoyed or you're really passionate about something and you say it, and then I've done it before where I've uploaded something and after I've uploaded that, I'm like, yeah, I should have just kept my trap shut. There's sometimes where you're just too emotional about something and you say something and you
So I have had many, so before I met you, I had many conversations with other people about you, and it was
yeah.
Oh, that sounded really weird, didn't it? That sounded very weird. No, but it was more in when you start joining that YouTube community type thing, people will always talk about other YouTubers, and I remember talking to guys who actually weren't YouTubers, and they were going, "Oh, have you seen Tom Nagy's video? He was quite, I'm going to use a posh word now, obtuse, ignorant, quite harsh towards certain things and other people." And I was like, really? I've not watched that video, because obviously I have a day job, so I don't watch every single YouTuber's video immediately. And do you watch every YouTuber's videos?
No.
You don't get time.
There's literally just no time. YouTube it swallows your life. It literally does. Any free time you've got, it's basically written off.
Don't get me wrong. I watched the GSH stuff with Gary. I've always watched. I don't watch any of the other stuff they do, for obvious reasons. But I watched like David Savory, because he's just the Rick Mail of the electrical industry. I think he's hysterically funny. He's either naturally incredibly talented and humorous, or he spends a hell of a lot of time putting the wit and humour. And based on what I've seen, he's just naturally hysterical. I don't really watch many of the others. I like Delroy, because he's a London spark, and he just reminds me of some of the lads I went to Tottenham College with. I don't know if you've ever watched him, but he's
I've
like,
seen
yeah, man, we
it.
got a fault, man. Yeah, man. And I'm just like, yes, I love it, because just like the Tottenham Sparks I grew up with. So I like Delroy the Spark, and he doesn't do much. He just randomly churns out videos now and again.
Yeah,
which is good. I think natural and organic. I have noticed there's this pressure on YouTubers. You will do this, you will do that. There are certain people who will do comments who just, there's no rhyme or reason for their comments. They're bonkers. They're just, honestly, you sit there and you go, are you slightly autistic, or are you on some sort of spectrum? Or I've done a video about wiring up a fuse board, and you want to talk about why carrots are orange.
Yeah,
it's that sort of.
I tend to find once you upload a video, that's pretty much the last time I look at it. It's,
oh, really?
Yeah, once I've uploaded it, it's uploaded, and that's it. Sometimes I'll go back through the comments and I'll reply to some of them, because they say you should try to make an effort to reply. And
yeah,
I'll always
read and engage. If they're trolly, I delete them, or foolishly, and I've been told not to, I will poke the bear if it's poking me back. So please don't try poking
works.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't. I've learnt that. I've learnt that. Although, in fairness, some people I have actually messaged them and said, would you like to meet somewhere and let's put the world to rights? Nobody's ever accepted, to be honest with you, because I found with trolls, I hate bullies. My dad was the biggest bully I ever knew, and if people bully me, I want to meet them and see why they're a bully. And I think we said it the other day, 99% of bullies are insecure morons. They are, and a lot of them don't realise they're actually bullying. They just do it for their own emotional release.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
We have bullies on Twitter who just do it after they've been to the pub on a Friday night. And, you know, I've met so many people in the electrical industry, when they've met me or the other E5 guys, within an hour, once they've realised we're just normal blokes, they go, God, I heard you lot were wankers.
Yeah.
Really?
I wasn't agreeing to that. I was just...
yeah, no. Yeah. Fun. And on the next question then. So, what do you think of E5? That's a question from Ryan, by the way. Do you get us yet? Because loads of people don't get us. That's fine.
I understand. Okay, my understanding of there's no cuts allowed in this, is there? So.
You can cut it.
Sorry,
we can cut as much as you want.
My understanding of E5 is that it is a community of people trying to better and upskill the industry. In short, I'm aware that there are probably a proportion of people in E5 who don't like me very much, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I've learned to embrace people that fucking hate me. It's kind of a thing on YouTube. You have to embrace it. So I'm aware that not everybody appreciates my content, or the angle of which, God's safe isolation. But I mean, there are...
We'll get onto that.
We'll get onto that in a second. So, but yeah, I think I admire the passion that goes into it. I think it's good. So, and YouTube's a big enough community.
Basically, what he thinks is we're all wankers. So I'll put his address down below in the comments. I'm joking. I don't know his address. No, it's your
pin badges are quite cool.
The pin badges, I do leave them. It's kind of supposed to put a message across. Continually improving, and in fairness, to be honest, since we started E5, you are right. There are some people not in the founder group, without a doubt, who don't agree or appreciate your videos. But in all fairness, they as individuals don't say that anymore. They've grown, they've evolved. Because one of the things that I've had to do as kind of the head honcho or the founder is kind of almost referee. Because you and I both know, you go on a site and there's loads of trades, they're all bitches, they're all tarts.
True.
And they all bitch and moan, and it's the same to a certain extent with some people in E5. They'll have a moan up because it's something to have a moan up about. But with YouTube, when you put yourself out there, it's like with anything. If you stand up and go, excuse me, you are like an MP or a politician, you're going to get kicked for what you say in public. So it's the territory. However, I've had people come up to me and going, I've noticed changes in Tom Nagy's videos, and I've actually said to a lot of people, look, he's not a dick. I've spoken to him. I've actually met him. He's a really nice, meek, humble guy. Well, I think one of the analogies that was given to me, which was quite interesting. You're probably going to hate me for saying this. Maybe we can edit this out if you don't like it. Was you were like the bad guy wrestler. When you meet you're really meek, humble, sweet, and you just want to hug you. But when you're on YouTube, at times, you're like the bad guy wrestler who comes through the curtain as everyone's booing. You're going, and you're playing the character. And that was a really interesting analogy, because I've watched loads and loads of your content now, and I put that as to Tom was having a bad day today. Tom was having a good day today.
What he said there, that pretty much sums it up, because there's, again, this is what I was saying earlier about this whole thing, the actual finished video is like 5% of what goes into, the amount of effort that goes into putting a video up a week is just, it's really insane. And sometimes, like, you put a video up and you'll give an opinion on something, and I don't know, people just live in their mother's basements. I don't know.
No. In fairness, some people. I also find as well. I'm a Virgo, so I take everything to heart really a lot. And
I am too.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah, I'm a Virgo as well.
Well, there you go. So that. Right, hang on. There's another piece of the jigsaw. So that explains exactly why, because I find that my mood in videos will be based on whether I've had an argument with the missus, or I'm stressed at work.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, the missus had a go at me. Why are you pointing the camera at yourself? Do your mates like you pointing the camera at you? This is really boring. Although my missus absolutely loves John Ward. She thinks John Ward's she just wants to hug him.
He's a very meek, smart guy.
He makes me feel really dumb.
Yeah,
and I really like that, because that makes me want to be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I think when you're a Virgo, especially, people take stuff to heart. And I now know when I watch YouTube videos that there's kind of a rule I have, and that is, what day was he having? Because remember one thing, everybody, working in the electrical industry is fucking hard. And it's a really shitty job when you're climbing through a glass loft in the middle of summer, or you're crawling under boards where there's rat shit, and you've got a board that's fallen apart, and you only went there to do an inspection, and something moved, and you can't leave something because it's really fucking dangerous. So a 20-minute pop in has turned into a 12-hour hellish experience where the customer thinks you're screwing them out of money. And that's totally different from the industrial world. Industrial world, you sit in a site cabin for weeks on end waiting for delivery, bitching about the world. And that's where the different types of YouTube
that's where most
commenters...
of the comments on YouTube come from, isn't it?
Possibly. I think it is... YouTube content is very much the real action stuff. I mean, I don't do anything while I'm on the tools, because I'm not on the tools that much. I did a video in here, and I put it on Instagram, which I'm still learning, because in here I've got my gas and water main bonded just under the floor there.
Okay.
And what I had was I had all these wonderful 10mm bonds. When I lifted this floor up, they were twisted together and all corroded. So somebody had cut the wire, poked it through the floor, grabbed it and twisted it. So it was obviously a builder, but yeah, I had a certificate that said, it's all compliant, it's all safe, and none of it was actually bonded. So that kind of annoyed me. Now it is immaculately bonded. And I put that, I filmed that, but I don't like filming myself doing work. Probably because I'd have to call the channel the Fat Sweaty Spark.
I mean, it's got a ring to it. I kind of like
Fat Sweaty Spark, copyright E5.
Yeah.
No, someone will nick that anyway. Somebody will, because that's what happens on YouTube. People just steal each other's ideas constantly. Not that we've had that done before. But so YouTube. Where do you see yourself going with YouTube?
I don't know. Not a clue. I think if somebody had told me 2 years ago that this is what I'd be doing, I'd have called them a liar, so no idea.
I'll rephrase it. Do you need YouTube?
You don't need it.
Because I see, and the reason I ask that is based on your videos and the amount of content you've put out, I've thought to myself, well, there's only so much finite content you can put out, and I think you would be stronger on YouTube if you did semi-regular videos.
Yeah, we've had that conversation in the past, wondering whether...
Just my personal view.
Yeah, we've wondered... The problem is there's no right or wrong answer.
No.
That's the thing. So
and you've got some mega fans who love watching you, which is really freaky when they put all those sorts of things. That really love you, Tom. Okay, as long as it's appreciating what I do as far as the work, not as in actual loving me, want to hold me and cuddle my butt cheeks and all the weird stuff that some stalkers can do, then that's fine.
But no, you've got a point, and there's no right or wrong answer. We've often had this, me and Penny have often had this conversation, wondering, do you maybe tone it down and just do even one video a month even? And I don't know,
I would be happy.
There's pros and cons to it, and we've never come up with an answer to it.
So for us, we're doing podcasts at the moment. They're doing weekly ones, and the reason we're doing weekly is because we've got so much stuff we talk about Dave Watts, Sparky Ninja, said we should record all this, because he did a podcast. He said, we record it all, somebody will find it useful. People are finding it useful in the vans. But I've said to people, look, once we get to we could get to 30 episodes and stop and not do one for 6 months. But then just carry on and do, if there's a new regs book comes out, then we carry on and do some more. But we're not bound by it. I know people are liking it, but in about 10, we're going to have probably 30 episodes out. That's 30 hours worth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's a useful repository of knowledge and thinking and
right there
engaging.
On its own.
Well, yeah, because what we try and do is talk about technical stuff, so that if you're in your van and you know there's a podcast where we talk about AFDDs, you almost join in on the exchanges and all the technical talk. If you're in your van and you're just a one-man band, we thought that would be really, really useful.
Yeah.
Or even in designers and stuff, and that's where we're trying to be different from everybody. But we're not committed to do, and we say it every single time, is this our last one? Is this our last podcast, or have we got loads more to talk about? And then Dave whips out the list, or John goes, oh no, we've got loads to do. We've got this.
Yeah.
We've got one on EV charging coming up soon. In fact, you know about the EV charging issue, where some cars aren't charging because of the earth electrode resistances are too high. So you've got all this hullabaloo of put in earth electrodes for EV charging points for the earthing, and the bloody cars have now got this earth loop impedance monitoring devices built in. So if, I think it's Renault and not Kia, not Fiat, Nissan, Renault and Nissan, basically they've got a monitoring device where if it's like, it goes above 150 ohms, your car won't charge. So during the middle of summer, it's measuring the earth path, and if it's too high, it says, whoop, not charging, could be dangerous.
Huh.
Thanks, regs. Thanks, wiring regs. What the fuck? And that will come in a podcast eventually. Got a lot of research to do, and I'm currently kicking Renault and Nissan's door in at the moment. I've been emailing them, ringing their technical helplines to get all the information. They have totally gone underground with this. But it is on the forums if you start doing your own research. And I think, isn't it convenient? Amendment 1 is coming out. All about EV. Very convenient.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah. It sounds convenient. Well, now the Amendment 1 with all these unicorn devices and not having the need for earth rods. How many people have installed earth rods? And then in 5 years' time, they may get a car where that earth rod, because it hasn't been maintained or the ground resistance has gone up, boom. You're now thinking, how many have I done?
No, I did. I was just thinking, I remember when I did the 18th edition upgrade, and I remember the lecturer on the day was saying that they're already, when I was doing that upgrade, they said they're already creating the Amendment 1 when I was sitting that course. So they literally, I think they just publish it, and they immediately then start with the next amendment.
They're actually working on Amendment 2 now. And we actually did a video.
This is messed up.
Yeah, no. So we'll actually go through that because we're going to go upstairs later on, and I'll talk you through all that. But there is information out there now where you can actually find out what's going to happen in the 19th edition. Me and Dave did a video about 4 weeks ago. I didn't expect you to watch it, but there is a video online called "The Future of the Electrical Industry." And what we did was, again, we researched about where the Amendment 2 is going to go, possibly 19th edition, the whole prosumer terms. Sparks are going to get smarter, but the trade it's really interesting next year where it's going to go, because I think the industry is going to walk away from the 5-week courses, because I know the ECA have kind of stepped back from it. It's inevitable that the NIC are going to step away from the 5-week courses. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because if they do that, that's great, fine and dandy, but further education's in the toilet. They don't have all the latest technology and all the kit. They don't have all the latest training material, which is why E5 are trying to do a lot of stuff with colleges. And there's going to be a group of people who are just left floating, who have been lulled in to pay the money to do all these $8,000, 20-week courses, whatever. What's going to happen with them? So it's going to be really interesting next couple of years to see where the industry's going, I think. But
no, I mean the 5 week. I know these like 5, because Trade Skills for You do a 5, 6 weeks, however long it is, and they're super popular. They are super popular courses.
I don't talk about Trade Skills for You. They're no, we're not. Yeah. Can I just say, Trade Skills for You? Please feel free to send me a solicitor's letter for putting a thumbs down to Trade Skills for You. I will never part with my cash to that company. I do not see them as part of the solution. They are part of the problem. Sue me. Anyway, that's enough about our friends at Trade Skills for You. I apologise because I know you've done videos with them.
I sit reasonably on I sit reasonably on the fence with it, because the problem is it's such a double-edged blade, because I've been asked to give opinions over these 5-week courses before, and you end up doing this thing where you haven't really got, or I certainly haven't really got an answer, because the fact remains there is a market for because they're appealing basically.
The industry's
to these
allowed
people.
the market, haven't they?
But I get the reason why they're there, though. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. That's not what I'm arguing. But there is, if someone is your age and they've got a house, 2.4 kids, and they want to retrain, well, an apprenticeship isn't going to work for that person. It doesn't matter, because that house is not going to pay for itself. So that they have to train somehow. I'm not saying those courses are right, but I get why they're there.
Yeah, I get why they're there. So I have a view.
It's a vicious circle.
I have the view of everybody's entitled to earn money for their family. However, I think the industry, and Dave has also agreed with me on this, there needs to be a filter on who comes into this industry, because the industry has been flooded with lots of people who do lots of bad work, which has de-skilled and devalued the trade. It makes decent, honest blokes more difficult for them to earn a good day's money for doing a quality job and being proud of what they do. So I think there's a number of people in the industry who need to be just fucked off out of it, and that can easily be done by the industry bodies just doing proper inspections, and when they find crap work that's really bad, going, actually, I'm not going to allow you to prep 5 jobs, I'm just going to turn up and pick 5 jobs and do some random sporadic shit, rather than allowing them to get 5 jobs that are really good because they're the best ones they've done. That's controversial. But I've never been against people coming in and doing a short course to feed their family, but it's the application of there's a term, time served. You have to apply this knowledge over a period of time. Short courses don't allow that, hence we'll get really dangerous work, dodgy fuse board changeovers, unsafe working practices. I mean, in fairness, I've seen YouTube stuff where, not yours, but I've just watched it and I've gone, fuck me, that is awful. You're filming yourself on YouTube? Mother of Zeus. You go and find them for yourself, because there is a fuck ton. There's tons of YouTubers out there now. It's mental. Yeah. So I always say to John Ward, I say, well, I blame Dave, and then Dave blames John. Now I can blame you as well, because you're sat on my couch, so I can say what I want to you. What do you think about the sheer volume of YouTubers that are out there? Because John was blowing shit up, pure science and theory. Dave has always been regs and also highlighting industry issues. Yeah, you've done Day in the Life of an Electrical Contractor, but now there's loads. There's absolutely loads.
Rats are everywhere.
What do you think of the numbers? Do you think there's too many? Do you think it's saturated?
No. YouTube is one of those places where everybody can
do what they want,
and it is when it works, it is an amazing community. The problem is, it's just everybody pisses, moans, bitches, and backstabs between channels. And which is one of the reasons why I try my best to stay off other people's channels now. I just try to stay,
stay away from them.
I just do my own thing, and that's it. I don't get involved in cross-channel collaborations and shit. I'm sat here, but you know what I mean. I try not to sort of sell myself.
Well, in fairness, I'll call you an arsehole to your face if I needed to call you an arsehole to your face, and you
can call me back. In a way, I kind of like it. You know, it's all right, but. It's a big enough community for everybody, you know.
Don't worry, we won't be filming 20 videos today, okay? Just to be clear, not brought you here for that. I brought you because I invited you and you very kindly accepted, and we'll be having lunch later and everything else. But the YouTube community has got very saturated, and I'm, again, all for everybody doing whatever they want, because I find it entertaining. But more important, I actually learned from some of it. Some of it I do find a bit weird, and I will say this again. So, and I'll say this to you as well, actually. YouTube is a dangerous place, and the reason why I think it's a dangerous place is when you're engaged as an electrician, and I know everybody's going to frown at me for saying this, tough, switch off if you need to. When you're engaged as an electrician, you are in a place of work. You have priced a job, you are filming your work. You're not set up for entertainment, you are filming in a place of work. If you're in a place of work, you are governed by the Electricity at Work regulations. If you're going to do lash-ups and shit, then you better be able to justify why you've done lash-ups and unsafe working practices. And that's one of the things I think the YouTube community really gets the ump with, because I know there are certain people on YouTube who are like, oh, fucking OE5, they think they're the self-appointed guardians of YouTube. No, we don't. What we want to do is just make sure that what we celebrate the industry, we highlight the issues in a constructive manner, and we actually put the education out there to fix it. How many other people are doing that sort of stuff? I'm not saying you should, but if you're going to have a bitch at me for saying you could do that a little bit better, fair enough, you can have a bitch, but you might actually want to stop wasting your energy having a go at me, and maybe we can help each other. Maybe we can help you, because again, not everybody knows everything.
Paul, my friend, you're talking on dead ears there.
I am, isn't it? So, hang on, what was that? That was a tumbleweed that's just gone through.
Yeah.
Right, so let's get to the topic, because everyone's waiting for this. Safe isolation.
It's bollocks again.
Yes, it's not bollocks, because I know people have died from it, so it's very much not bollocks.
The problem is people take...
Well, I knew people who died from it. Sorry, that's the wrong sentence. You know what I mean?
It really fucks me off when people start talking about it, because the problem with this is not the problem. I've got no issue with safe isolation, and I haven't. And everybody who pisses and moans and bitches and fucks around in the comments saying, "Oh, Tom's got an issue." I had it on Twitter the other day, some fucking knob talking about it and just dragged me into this topic of safe. Oh, Tom doesn't believe in safe. It's not that I don't believe in it. Just apply it with common sense. We all have one thing you'll never see in the regs, and you'll never see anything. You got me started now.
Sorry.
You'll never see it in the regs anywhere about applying logic, common sense, or your gut feeling. You won't see that anywhere in any single. Won't see it in the regs anywhere.
No.
But we're not allowed to. What, you can't apply common sense to a situation and look at something and think when you walk into an empty house. And the bollocks people talk on Twitter. Lock off 100% of the time, absolutely everywhere, no excuses. Fuck off. Do you really think if you're working in an empty property and the fuse board's right out there in the fucking corner and I'm the only silly fucker in that house?
So,
there's just, I'm just...
And breathe, and breathe,
and breathe,
Tom, and breathe. Right. So I'm going to give you. I'm going to give an opinion on it. So again, I'm going to go really techie now. So electricity at work regulations, HSG 85. There's also HSR 25, which is the guidance and planning for safe system of work. Because at the end of the day, working with electricity is hazardous, and there are risks with working it, and you need to be able to demonstrate adequate control measures. So let me give you something that you don't know. So on London Underground, there is a safe isolations license. And that safe isolations license has 3 levels for people who are able to work by themselves, plan, or work in, on or near electricity. But there's also a level M. So I used to have a license, and I was a level 3M, which means I could work as part of a team, I could plan, or I could do the isolations on multiple. So I could go to 2 stations, lock off at Bethnal Green and say Mile End, and the station in between would be off, because London Underground stations are fed from the other station. They're on a big loop. Okay. It's very difficult to plan isolations when there's lots of sources of power. Sure, yeah. So Oxford Circus has 8 DNO supplies. So doing an isolation there is a nightmare. So you go to a local board and you think you've locked off, and there's about 7 other contactor switches switching in and out where you'll think your point of isolation is fine, but it's bypassed via something else. So, but that's the more complex stuff. However, common sense is in that safe isolation license, because it does actually state in the guidance note, if you're working on a socket, which you can't see there, and the fuse board is right here, there is absolutely no need to apply a lock-off, because you have control
over that environment.
And I think that's where, because I saw that video and I watched it and I thought, if you would, I hate to say it, if you were to explain the logic of that, you probably wouldn't have got all of the trolls, because if you would have, I'd have just wrote back, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. But when you're doing the isolation, I would say, right, I have the front door's locked, I have the goddamn key, it's changed, nobody's coming in. There is sufficient control measures. Now, interestingly enough, now this is really going to be controversial, so you might want to close your ears. When you are performing a safe isolation and you lock off an MCB, are you actually isolating that circuit? No, you're not. Because safe isolation is the disconnection and separation of all, this is really techie, separation of all sources of electrical energy. Well, the neutral conductor is also unenergized. Now, on London Underground, you have not, if you do a safe isolation on a board and apply a lock off and go, I am done, you will fail. Because the assessor will go, but the neutral's still connected and there is still currents floating around the neutral. How are you checking for that? How are you disconnecting that neutral? Which always then got into a debate of, well, hang on a fucking minute, I've now got to take the board cover off, or I've got to isolate the whole board to disconnect the whole
Yeah,
board.
I mean,
Where's the practicality of it?
You're going deeper and deeper
But that's what they want you to do, because if you're assessing what control measures you need, that's the justification you have to have. So the assessor wants you to go, whoa, hang on a sec, you want me to open up the board live? If you then open up the board, by the way, and it's live, and you go, I'm just going to disconnect the neutral, he's going to fail you. He's actually going to fail you, because what he's then going to say is, well, hang on a minute, if you've isolated the line conductor and you've proven it dead, then the neutral conductor will be dead. Oh yeah. And if you didn't know that, he'd say, you don't know what you're fucking doing, you're done. You're off. You're not getting that. So this course, by the way, is failed by 90% of electricians that go on it, because it does mindfuck you quite a bit. But I like the fact that it went into an incredibly innate detail of planning multiple sources of energy down to the common sense. There's a socket, line of sight, local control. And I think people need to possibly realise that in your videos you don't talk like that. I probably would if I was doing it.
No, I don't. That's the problem. I mean, to me, it's just apply logic to where you're working. If you're working in a domestic property, and I know you're funny. If Mrs. Jones is in a Zimmer frame, she's not going to exactly be hiking up an 8-tread step ladder to turn it on, is she?
What's that, young man?
Exactly.
No, she's not going to do that.
But like, we were working in Tottenham Court Road at a commercial place the other day. Fuse boards at the other end of the building. Mm-hmm. So okay, you lock it off. Makes total sense. Yep. If you haven't got access, if you can't guarantee that no one else is going to turn it on, then fine, you lock it off. Totally understand that. Or you don't even have to just lock the door to that room, and if you're the only person who's got the key, fine, just leave it switch. Just make some effort to isolate that supply. But
there's many control measures, barriers, signs, all sorts of stuff. I mean, when I was at EDF, so when I worked for EDF Energy, they were so bad at doing it, I made A4 signage and I laminated them, and then I allowed guys to permanent marker them. Mm-hmm. Or put like a whiteboard marker. So I would go out and I produced thousands of A4 laminate sheets, which were hole punched. The guys could then tie on and say, EDF Energy, this control measure is, and I'd put all the bits the spark needed to think about. So when you're doing, I like permits to work, 'cause it says, are earths needed to be applied? Well, no, not really. But you only apply earths if there's large magnitude of energy, and you would need it to disconnect if all other control measures failed. There's many levels and many control measures, and I don't think obviously you don't do that in your videos, because you're about general contracting. You're not there to do, hi, I'm Tom Nagy, and here's my safe isolation control measure process.
They take it. If you say something, I find on YouTube, you have to explain the duck's ass out of it. You can't just say something and then just carry on with the rest of the conversation. If you start something, you have to completely discuss it, which I don't do, because I'm also on site. I just want to get a job done and just keep moving.
So stay tuned for Tom's next video, where I go and assess his safe isolation skills.
At the job centre, yeah.
It varies. I personally, as long as for me, I want electricians on YouTube to be a bit more responsible than they are now, but not have to justify the ins and outs of a duck's arse to people. It's just when you see very obvious scenarios where you go, that looks like a hazard I'm perceiving, that's when it gets a bit worrisome, I think. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I think Dave Watts said the other day, he was getting, I don't know if he told you this, he was getting asked about from a 12-year-old. His parents had gone on holiday and he wanted to change a fuse board. But it was stuff we saw on YouTube, and it was like, okay.
Yeah, it's a grey area, because it's one of the reasons I don't do how-tos.
You don't show everybody, exactly, and that's the problem.
But that...
Well, it's not the problem. It's actually the right thing to do.
Again, you can't win, because
you can't win. No,
everybody's like, oh, can you please show the full procedure? Why haven't you deliberately don't show everything?
Yes,
because of that.
So, in a nutshell, back the hell off.
Yeah,
back the hell off.
There's a lot that goes into the content which people don't think about, and sometimes when you see scenes that have been skipped, or there's a reason why it's been cut, or there's a reason, I got Christmas cards the other day. And it was from some 14-year-old boy who he loves what you're doing, yada yada yada, and he's like, I try to do a bit of work on my own at weekends and stuff. And I'm like, fucking hell, So there's a reason why you don't show.
Don't do shit like that, 14-year-olds.
Really,
unless you're with your dad and your dad's a spark.
Yeah.
Then that's fine, because if your dad's a spark, you're going out to work with him whether you want to or not at some point.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of dads.
So. But yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that. I think
right.
me and you need to get on and do what we planned for our day anyway now. So, any final thoughts? One last question. Where do you think the industry's going?
Down a toilet at the moment is where it's going.
Okay.
I love this industry. I really do. I love being an electrician. I love working for myself. But as I don't think it's controversial, because I think a lot of people think it, but the industry is flooded with just shit tradesmen, and it's absolutely flooded.
It's a cancer, isn't it, in the industry?
But a controversial, it's fucking true. People bang on about safe isolation, right? And it's such a thing. No, you've got to safely isolate because an electrician. There's been numerous cases where electricians have been killed because they haven't safely isolated because of somebody else's shit work. Rather than put that preventative measure in, why don't we just sort that cancer out? Why don't we just sort? The industry is flooded with such shit tradesmen. Rather than sort that issue, we'll safely isolate. We put this preventative measure in. Rather than put this preventative measure there, why don't we just fix the real problem, which is the fact the industry is just flooded with shit tradesmen?
No, I don't disagree with you. So there is a cancer in our industry with shit tradesmen.
Sorry, I get very emotional.
No, it's all right. Safe isolation is a legal obligation on all of us anyway, because people will die even if, and I'm sorry to say this, even the best of tradesmen can still kill themselves. And the figures are going up for accidents, incidents and deaths with electricity. Fire statistics are constantly going up, hence our fault detection is supposed to fix it, which will help. I don't think there's a cure. And one thing I said in one of our podcasts, I don't think it's come out yet, but it will by the time this video is, it would be really good if the industry bodies had an open and public debate as to what the fuck we're going to do to sort this problem out.
I'd like to know, because I don't see an immediate answer to it. I really don't.
And it's something that's got to be transparent. Literally, the wine rigs committee meetings. I've said on a podcast that they should be filmed and put on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Because if it's about the future of the industry, we should know the justification, the rhyme and the reasons behind why they're doing what they're doing. In itself, it would be an educational process. Now, in theory, why wouldn't they make them public? Why wouldn't you? It affects so many people's livelihoods. Yeah. Everybody's on a level playing field. It should be publicly available. And then that way, people can't then corruptly have a competitive advantage. You get people who a day after wine rigs comes out and go, oh, look, all our software is fully compliant after a day. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, all our training material is fully compliant after a day. Fuck off. Seriously? Oh, we just happen to know a bloke who sits on the wine rigs committee. Really? All that sort of nepotism and shite that goes on. Mm-hmm. You'd kill all that off. You'd get rid of the arrogance. You'd get rid of the nepotism. And then maybe you get to the point of, what are we doing about the industry?
Yeah.
And I think it needs a debate about industrial, commercial and domestic sparking, because they're all different.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, Tom, I would thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
It's been an emotional conversation couch. But yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Nagy.
Has been a pleasure.
Check him out. His picture will appear somewhere kind of here, if I get the card thing right.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody. And until the next one, take care of yourself and each other. Bye-bye.